All right, we are back. This is Beacon of Hype. Back with you on the case of Who Killed Sam Rupert. And we are going to try to finish this off finally today and get the killer revealed after we look at every possible warrant application that we can file for all the suspects. And see what we get for an explanation as to why he or she is or is not the killer. Again, for this installment, the very first one in the Virtual Murder series, they only had one set killer for the game. In all future titles, they had as many as 3 different scenarios with 3 different killers. But this one, obviously, it was their first try at this type of game presentation, so they only picked one murderer. In hindsight, they probably could have. It would have been nice if they maybe had done a few different scenarios for this one. I think we have a few different suspects here that are easy targets or easy pinnings for the murderer for Sam Rupert, but there's only one amongst all of these. I think in one of the earlier installments, when we got past the press conference, finally, we figured out, or we tried more than a few times, to pin the murder on the cleaning woman, Abelina Casados. I can tell you without having to record it, I did go through every possible scenario for her to try to at least get a warrant application for her arrest, and had no luck. We know for certain, regardless of who we suspect of being the murderer or what their alibi is, that the weapon involved is a hat pin, which was used to puncture him on the neck. And the murder time was around midnight. So regardless of where we go with the other scenarios here for suspect, alibi, status, and motive, these two are across the board the same. So, with Abelina, I tried every alibi, regardless of what she said she was doing. I tried every motive. And every time, I'm just going to put this here, just to give you an idea of what the scenario was.
This suspect does not have a motive that I can see. She also has a rock-solid alibi supplied by disinterested parties. I suggest you find a more likely murderer, Detective.
And that was the same response I got for every one of the times that I tried to isolate Abelina and get a warrant application. Funny thing is in the explanation of how the game works, there's a point in that presentation where it actually shows Abelina's warrant application screen, which is basically just a picture of the suspect close up, and then a little box shows up in the corner around here where our assistant Lucy Farewell, who, fun fact, is actually played by the game's creator, Shannon Gilligan, explains why Abelina is not the killer. There's no audio to this. It just kind of shows up in the presentation while the narrator is explaining how the game works. So at some point, they had to have filmed something where Lucy explains why Abelina is not the killer, but obviously in the presentation of the finished product, they went ahead and they didn't bother even making it a possibility as far as the actual warrant application goes. So we know Abelina's out. So let's start with Sam's wife, Lily Rupert. Lily, we know that she did have a ladies' night with her sister and some friends. She talked to her sister for some length of time after that dinner or whatever it was with her friends at the house. We know obviously this happened at midnight. If we're going to give her a motive, I think everything except for to break a contract and fear would apply, given that Sam has been unfaithful to her, and regardless of that, she still remained married to him, so there is love on some level, I guess. Maybe the jealousy finally took over, or just full-on anger. Let's just try jealousy.
Good work, Detective. You've put together quite a case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope hope you've found your murderer.
Could it be?
Lily Rupert's brother-in-law called at 5 minutes to midnight last night. He chatted with his sister-in-law for a few minutes before talking to his wife. Apparently, before he hung up at 12:20, which is backed up by phone records, he chatted with his sister-in-law again. This places her at home at the time of the murder. She didn't do it.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
Okay, so we know it was not Lily. In addition to having her sister over, her brother-in-law also called the house where she was at the time. So that takes her out of the running. So we jumped from Lily past Abelina. So now let's give Louis Perez-Lacy a try, the maitre d'. Remember in previous installments we established that Louis actually had a bit of a crush on Sam. Maybe that crush grew into something more and he couldn't handle it anymore. So Louis, obviously we got the hat pin, we got midnight. I guess we could try. We could try love. And while we did have him at the store talking to the clerk about the lottery, he could have still potentially had time to go and do it.
You've used an hour of time, Detective. 5 hours left.
We got plenty of time.
Your alibi in the warrant application does not match the suspects. Please go back and check again, Detective.
Okay. So I guess we'll just go with confirmed by interested party.
Your alibi in the warrant application does not match the suspects. Please go back and check again, Detective.
Well, we know he wasn't confirmed by his sister because as far as we know, he doesn't have any siblings. So that leaves can't be confirmed, was alone.
Good work, Detective. You've put together quite a case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope you've found your murderer.
Let's see.
I hate to admit it, boss, but a man named Mario Ruffino has come forward. Apparently, he's a resident of the same condo complex as Perez-Lacy, and the two men are lovers. He was waiting in Perez-Lacy's apartment last night and spent the entire night with him. This gives him a rock-solid alibi, and he didn't do it.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
Alright, so again, we learned, even though we learned that Louis is not the killer, we learned he wasn't actually alone at the time of the murder because he had a lover over. Which is, again, very interesting given what we were told by other people that we interviewed and even by Louis himself when he said that he loved Sam. So even when he was potentially, having relations with someone else at his condo complex, we have an emotional attachment of some sort to the deceased. Alright, so next up is probably the most pointed to suspect in the whole game is David Sturgeon, the chef. This one, we know confirmed by interested party because he said his roommate Sheila, another person who is having relations with somebody at his apartment, said that he was with her all night. And we have an easy one. This one is the only one that applies to David, was to break a contract as a motive to kill him. Hat pin and midnight. Let's give David a try.
Detective, this is your chief. Just a reminder, you have 4 hours left to investigate the case.
Good work, Detective. You've put together quite a case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope you've found your murderer.
Mr. Sturgeon failed to admit something when he spoke to us. Apparently last night when he got home, he didn't talk to his girlfriend. They had a huge fight. Some neighbors actually called it in, and the cops showed up at 11:45 when apparently half his stuff was out on the street. When they left at 1:45, well, he was still there. It wasn't possible for him to be the murderer.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
So, yet another one where, well, it seemed like he had every reason to kill Sam Rupert. He was too busy getting kicked out by his girlfriend. So that takes him out of the running. Just in terms of taking people out of the running, I think we can probably get Edward out of here pretty easily. Edward Talman, you can say confirmed by interested party because he had his housekeeper and some other, I think a friend of his was over as well that helped put him to bed. And this one, straight up anger, because we know he was angry about not getting the table he wanted at Penn and midnight. So I think we can pretty much be safe to assume that Edward is not the killer, but let's give it a try anyway.
Good work, Detective.
Nice.
You've put together quite a case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope you found your murderer.
Talman's blood alcohol test results have just come in. According to them, it puts him out cold at the time of the murder last night. I'm afraid he's telling the truth, boss. He didn't commit this crime.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
Alright. So as we suspected, Edward Talman was in no condition to do anything that would lead to Sam Rupert being dead because he was too busy being dead drunk. So we got him out of there. So let's go back up here to Mimi, who's another one that's interesting. Mimi has, again, from the onset of the game, kind of downplayed her relationship with Sam to a degree. Just said that they were friends. She looked after real estate deals for him whenever they popped up. And that was about it. She didn't really delve into much, and then was very, very standoffish in the in-depth interview about why she had called Sam so many times the night of the murder. And also just was very, what's the word? Very closed off when it came to revealing anything about their relationship. So we're going to say can't be confirmed as a loan because we know that she spoke to her mother briefly on the phone, I believe, and then was just watching a show on TV when she drifted off to bed. So I think we're going to say, yeah, we'll go with, we don't think we've gone with sex yet, so let's try that. Right? Who knows, maybe it wasn't as good as it should have been, so that's why she was breaking things off and wanted to kill him. Give it a try.
Sex is a motive for most murder, in my experience. A warrant to arrest the suspect is granted.
There you go.
A gentleman friend, Mayor Winthrop, actually has stepped forward to corroborate Miss Andrews' alibi. Apparently, they started to see each other about 2 weeks ago. According to him, they've fallen madly in love. He's trying to keep it quiet because he's not legally separated yet. This explains the phone calls to Sam Rupert's private line last night. She was breaking off their affair. She's not the murderer.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
There we go. So that one, she was trying to break off her affair with Sam because she had already begun an affair with the mayor. This goes to show where trust lies, or maybe doesn't lie. So Mimi is not the killer. So that leaves 2 people left. So let's try the head bartender, Blake Farron, who we know goes to midnight, happen. We know in his case, I think we can go with fear because he was concerned about possibly either being taken to court, being arrested. being fired from his job because he had been caught dipping in the till. And while it was stated by some other people, including Blake, that they were working out some sort of payment plan, maybe it was discovered he'd taken more than just the $300, and maybe he was worried that was going to, have repercussions beyond just the money that he was going to have to pay back. So I think we know that he had gone to another bar and played pool with some friends, but there were some times that he could have possibly ducked out of there and done the deed. Let's find out.
Detective, 3 hours down, 3 hours to go.
I think your motive for this suspect is a bit of a long shot, considering the facts, but I will grant you a warrant.
Ferrer was missing from Ricardo's last night at around the time of the murder, but he's got an explanation and it sticks. Apparently his ex-wife is chasing him down for a child support payment. She came in with a friend who waited in the car. 2 other people left the bar and saw them talking out on the sidewalk. It all matches up and gives him a rock-solid story. He didn't do it, boss. Sorry.
You still have time to make another arrest, Detective. Good luck.
All right. Well, clearly I've played this game many times over the years, so you'll probably know what I was getting at by getting rid of Edward at the bottom here, so we could end with the last warrant application and with the actual killer. And you'll, obviously put 2 and 2 together. Throughout the game, it was said by Mimi and a few other people that Maria was very devoted to Sam. Mimi actually said that both Sam and her used to laugh about the fact that they believed that Maria had a crush on him. And in her own interview, she stated that it was, most people fell in love with Sam or were in love with Sam. She didn't say herself, but she also kind of acted a very, very, jealous way when talking about Mimi, as if she wanted to be the girlfriend rather than her. So let's see. Let's go with love. And can't be confirmed was alone. That's an easy one. And here we go.
Good work, Detective. You've put together quite a case. I grant you a warrant to arrest the suspect. I hope you've found your murderer.
Here comes the death stare.
I loved him. And he was never going to love me. Not ever. The ring was it. I knew when he bought the ring for Mimi, he was going to leave his wife and ask her to marry him. I kept thinking he was going to figure it out. She didn't even love him, the bitch. I kept thinking that he was going to finally figure out that it was me he loved. So I did the only thing I could. The only thing I could do that would keep him mine. And so, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing you could do to me that could touch me now. Because he's mine, and that's all I care about. I must admit, I'm pretty impressed that you saw past the knife. I thought you'd nail David Sturgeon for sure, but I don't care. I don't care.
All right.
Excellent job, Detective. That was a tough case. Say, aren't you due for a promotion soon?
I'll never turn one of those down. Alright, so here are the ending credits. So we finally got through to the end of the game and revealed Maria Campbell as the killer. Written and directed by Shannon Gilligan, who again I made a note earlier that she actually made a little cameo appearance for herself as our assistant Lucy Farewell. which I've actually done a little bit, not a whole lot of deep diving into trying to look up the whereabouts of a lot of people that were involved in the making of these games. And Shannon Gilligan is someone that I really do want to try to see if I can track down online, whether there's an email address or some other way I can find her, and hopefully she's still among us. There's the cast. That's another thing I want to do is maybe, like I mentioned earlier, I've actually even played around with the idea of putting together either some type of documentary or even a book. Get some screenshots from the games and track down anybody that was involved with it, because these games, are a very significant part of my childhood coming up. To the point that I'm actually even, that's the reason that you're even watching this right now on YouTube. It's because I felt that I wanted to share something of my childhood with everybody that may otherwise not even know that these games exist. And to me, that's kind of a prototype of sorts for some of the stuff that we see today with games like LA Noire, and so on and so forth. So having this type of experience still accessible on the iMac for us is, I think, very, very good. So now, again, we're done with Who Killed Sam Rupert. So one thing I may put together down the road is going to be a rundown of some of the extras, like some of the things we did not pay attention to in the game itself, was as far as fine wines, little tidbits as far as like notes from some of the other guests of the restaurant. We didn't get to some of that, but there's only so much time in the day, so what can you do? So I think what you'll see in the next installment is going to be the very beginning of the second virtual murder, and that is called The Magic Death, Virtual Murder 2. That features the investigation into the murder of Elspeth Haskard. And that one is very interesting. It delves into voodoo and other elements, like where we have so many different scenarios with suspects, not just religious suspects or religious motives rather, but even things involving like a landlord-tenant relationship, multiple partners, all sorts of fun. But that'll be for the next installment. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please keep up the subscriptions and the views, word of mouth. I'm very new to this, so I'm probably going to keep saying that even after I've done this for months or if not years. But all the help is appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. This is Beacon of Hype, signing off.